talk about, yeah, a lot of people out there struggling. We're going to talk about an article, go over a little video here. I've got a couple of viewer questions that they sent in on my website, mygovexpert.com. I've got a new little thing down there. You click on the bottom left. It's a little an icon there. You push it, and you can actually ask a question via video. And I am answering 100% of those questions because we like to see your beautiful face and see you actually ask the question. Okay, let's get into it here. There is a lot of people, unfortunately, throughout the country are financing groceries. Unbelievable. Pay now or buy now, pay later. Getting their groceries. Remember the old layaway plan? I'm not sure if they have layaway. I think they still had layaway plans, but they used to be very, very popular in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Yeah, I don't think you can lay away your groceries, but people are financing groceries. It's unbelievable. So we'll get into a little bit of that. And there's also one of the major news networks did a little mini series on how people are having a hard time out there. A lot of my viewers are like, duh, yes, we are having a hard time. But let's go ahead and watch the quick little video, and then we'll talk about this article, and then we'll get into all of your questions. Neither the article that was written, kind of helps you for those people out there struggling. It just says, hey, there's people out there struggling. This news story pretty much does the same thing. Hey, people out there are struggling, and then they say, well, okay, we'll see y'all next time. But we don't play that here. We actually try to see if we can help you out and that you can help those around you. All right, so let's go ahead and check this out real quick.
In a recent CBS News poll, 2 out of 3 Americans told us they're stressed about their own finances. 3 out of 4 said their incomes are not keeping up with inflation. That's a lot of people struggling to make ends meet.
Inflation has been moderating in recent months, but prices are still nearly 24% higher than at the start of the pandemic.
In our series, The Cost of Living, Americans are telling us about their struggles to make ends meet, and we conclude with a widow on Social Security. After rent, she has less than $200 to live on.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty. My name is Olivia Marino Carlson. I'm 70 years old. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I cannot afford to retire. I live off of Social Security, which does not pay all my bills. That's why I'm looking for work. My husband was a mechanic. He developed MS. I took care of him until he passed away. I was working retail, lifting boxes. It was very hard. I'm going to the library to use the internet to look for work. I did not think that being 70 would be like this. I'm asking if there's any positions or work positions available here.
We don't have anything open right now, but keep an eye on it.
I put in an application here at Walgreens. I haven't heard back, so I'm going to check to see what's going on. They don't have an update on my application. The cost of food has gone up. Every time I blink, it goes up. I get better prices here.
You told me $10.25?
This is where I have a Bible study.
We thank you so much for this evening.
There are times when I do feel like giving up, and coming to this group helps me continue on.
Good. Right.
My greatest obstacle right now is being able to support myself. It is hard for me just to survive. I wish people in power would think more with their heart. It is hard for me to accept that I'm not able to enjoy the rest of my life because I have worked hard all my life.
All right, another unfortunately tragic story out there. It's not as though her and her husband didn't work their entire lives. If you've known any mechanics out there, shade tree or otherwise, you know how difficult it is for mechanics. And it looks like they probably really lived out west or something. And yeah, even harder when you have to pull out a water pump and it's 100 degrees outside. So, but unfortunately, her husband got MS, and that's yeah, not able to work anymore with that, particularly having to stand up all day as a mechanic. Didn't probably pay too much into Social Security because of the nature of the job, and became disabled. So there's a lot of people out there struggling. And so the other story on the financing, groceries, food prices are about 28% higher than they were in 2020. Because of the pandemic, prices essentially went up, and they are continuing to be at high levels continuing on. So even though, inflation this year for the last 12 months might not be a whole heck of a lot, the tariffs haven't hit yet. But prices have increased substantially over the last several years, and they're continuing to stay at high levels. And I'm sure we've got a lot of people that can chime in and tell us how difficult it is out there. 24% of consumers now use this buy now, pay later for groceries. That's up 14% from just 1 year ago. So a 14% increase in people using buy now, pay later just to pay for their groceries. It's just unbelievable. And 5% of those users made late payments last year. And as we know, that then you get into this kind of cycle, it becomes a trap, these payday loan centers and everything. You borrow money to pay for this, and then you've got the interest, and you've also got the interest. Sounds like the federal government, we've got all this debt as a federal government, $36 trillion in debt, and we're paying, I think as of this year, we're the highest outlays for money is either the Department of Defense or the actual interest. Obviously, Social Security is a separate budget, it's separately funded, but in terms of general revenue, we're talking about the Department of Defense interest. Those are the two high ones out there. And this industry, this buy now, pay later industry has exploded. So in 2019, there was about $2 billion loaned out of this, and now about $116 billion is this industry, and it's ever increasing. People just can't live from paycheck to paycheck, Social Security to Social Security check, and they try to find something in there to cover that gap. And they know, everybody out there knows that it's not the ideal thing. They're also going to have this interest and all this other, but when you need to put food on the table, you need to put food on the table. So it's a very unfortunate situation. So let's see what we can do to help those and help y'all help those people in your community. Remember, on my website, mygovexpert.com, I just added a new section to it. So if you're new to my channel, I've got my website. Let me throw the website link up there one more time. So it's mygovexpert.com. It's got a bunch of free resources on calculators for retirement benefits and spouse benefits and all the rest of it. It's got information on disability, survivor, family benefits, Medicare. And I've added a whole bunch of new sections over the last few weeks. And one of them is on living on Social Security alone. Bunch of federal programs, SSI, Medicare Savings Program. If you got any questions about those, you can check out my website. Someone mentioned in the chat right now that Meals on Wheels is being defunded or going away. I know they're definitely being cut back. Some of the other programs on here, obviously SNAP, food stamps, is being cut considerably on the big, beautiful bill. It's not big and beautiful for the rest of us. It's definitely big and beautiful for those people that make a lot of money. The home energy assistance is being cut back substantially. The senior community service program is being cut back substantially. Obviously, Medicaid is really being cut back. And because of the nature of the law, the pay-go law that was signed in 2010, because there's going to be a deficit because of the big, beautiful bill. If it passes, then Medicare will also automatically get cut, even though it's not in the beautiful bill. it will get cut because that's unfortunately the way the law is written. So I've got a couple of video questions that I will get to as well, but let's go ahead and get to some of your questions. And as always, our live Q&A is sponsored by Chapter. So if you need any help with all things Chapter, can help you out. Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, Part D, and all the rest of it. JS asks, I'm a fan of your who is conservative, and I disagree with most of your political views. Perfect. But you do know your stuff, and I wish I'd found you sooner. We'll be working with Chapter in October. All right. I like it. Yeah. Politicians, that's their job, is to divide us and make us yell at each other and, and argue. And, my job here is to piss off the most people I possibly can, whether you're on the left or the right. If you've been watching for a while, a bunch of people on the left is like, Ed, you're an idiot, da da da, and people on the right call me an idiot, and so and they throw mud at me and all the rest of it. But that's my job, is to kind of give you kind of the BS filter out there. Politicians on both sides are not usually telling the truth a lot of times, so I call them out for it. So thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. James, thank you for giving us the information we need to navigate these troubled waters, and that has been purposely caused by this administration for the benefit of the rich. Yeah, this has been a long time coming. It's definitely on steroids now, but in terms of Social Security, politicians on both sides have failed to solve the Social Security issue. I just did on my website as well. One of the new sections is myths debunked about is it going bankrupt and was the money stolen, all the rest of it. So it gives you the kind of the lowdown of try to break some of these myths out there. And so this has been kind of a concerted effort to kind of, destroy Social Security, privatize Social Security. There's one particular party that definitely wants to get rid of it. The other particular party, political party, says they want to protect it, but they haven't been doing a very good job because the trust fund is going to run out, and we are going to get a 20% cut within the next few years if politicians don't do something. So both sides have essentially failed us, haven't they? King Destroyer needs evicted from this imaginary throne. Okay. Let's see. Ain't no retiring going on here. 7 days a week for the last 11 years. Still doesn't pay the bills. Yeah, that's... remember, even when you start your Social Security benefits, you can start your regular retirement benefits at 62. You're still allowed to work as long as you stay under the annual earnings limit. This year, it's the $23,400. So, even if you get your Social Security check, if you started at 62, it's going to be reduced. So it's reduced by 30%. So you get 70% of your full check if you started at 62 years old, but you're still allowed to work as well. You just have to stay under that annual earnings limit to do that. So I don't do name brands on some foods to help save a penny or two. I'm totally retired. Yeah, you got all those generic brands out there. Definitely save some money. I know when I was a kid, we couldn't buy the box cereal. We had to buy the fake one, fake Captain Crunch that came in the bag. That was kind of, I guess, Admiral Crunch, or I forget what the name of it was. And fried bologna sandwiches. Those out there have had fried bologna sandwiches before, know what I'm talking about. Nancy, I'm like you, can't afford name brand anything. Yeah, so it's and what's a shame is this is the richest economy in the history of the world. As an economy, as a country, we are doing phenomenally well. But the problem is, since the 1970s, all of the wealth, the American worker have become more efficient. We're able to produce more per capita of stuff. And you figure that, we were told since, the 1980s, well, you just keep giving money to the rich people and eventually it will trickle down. It will trickle down. It will trickle down. And we're still waiting for that trickle down, aren't we? It's been decades and decades, and it still hasn't trickled down. And they're telling us the same story right now. Actually, they're not using the trickle down too much. You see it popping up every now and then. But now they're saying, oh, yeah, fraud, waste, and abuse. And, the reason we're cutting this and we're giving more money to, we're going to give you all a couple of dollars in this, big, beautiful bill. we're going to give the low income people a few bucks. And so they use that, hey, we're going to give you a few bucks. A majority of over 80% of it goes to the top. So it's not as though we don't have the money. We definitely have the money, but that's what politics are. That's what politics is politics is the decision where to put resources. Partisanship is, that's the whole, hey, Democrats did this and Republicans did this and conservatives did this. And look, that's partisanship. We don't deal with partisanship here. In terms of politics, we always want to stick with politics because, my mission in life here is to help you find your benefits and protect your Social Security. And that's what politics is all about, is resources. Where is our national treasure going to go to? Is it going to go to the top 1 or 10%? Or is it going to go to people like this person in the story that was retired and barely able to survive, and mama and all the rest of people out there? So that is what politics is all about. Bella, yes, praying for Minnesota. That is a terrible situation. And again, let's leave the partisanship aside, and eventually, immediately, people start jumping to conclusions, and they say this, that, and the other, and this person wrote this one thing, and he was a member of this particular party, and all the rest of it. Yeah, politicians love to separate us like that. Renee, I'm new here. Are you answering Medicare questions? Yes, I'm answering any and all questions: Social Security, retirement, disability, Medicare, Medicaid. Yep, whatever you have, just let me know. And let's see. Woody 3807 says, I need to apply for Part B and so on. Do you have any suggestions? Okay, so if you're just talking about signing up for Part B, then you're probably already receiving Social Security benefits because you already have Part A and you're 65 or older. So possibly Woody is worked when he or she turned, looks like a male there, picture. Looks like he worked at 65 years old, had health insurance from work, and maybe 2 or 3 years later, stopped working, stopped receiving that health insurance from work. Then yes, you do need to go ahead and sign up for Part B at that time to avoid the penalties. You just go on to my website and you click on the enrollment periods, and it has enrolling after losing job-based coverage. You're in your special enrollment period, and you have 8 months when you stop receiving health insurance from work to go ahead and apply for Part B to avoid those penalties. And on my website, mygovexpert.com, again, click on Medicare, and then click on the little tab that says enrollment periods. And then it's got the 2 forms that you will need, the 40B and the 564. The 564 you take down to your employer, and they certified that, yes, you did have health insurance from work when you turned 65, and that way you avoid those penalties. And then you need to start figuring out how to cover all those gaps, because there's a lot of gaps in original Medicare. The big one is that 20% Part B that you're on the hook for. So that's why people either get a Medicare supplement plan or they get a Medicare Advantage plan. I always, 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 always recommend, anytime you talk to somebody about that, you call Chapter, whoever you want to talk to, always start with Medicare supplements and have them tell you what a Medicare supplement plan. And if it's not for you, then you get a Medicare Advantage. But always start, because the problem is Medicare agents make more money if they enroll you in a Medicare Advantage plan. So a lot of unscrupulous agents out there will push you to a Medicare Advantage plan. So make sure they talk about both, and then you make your decision. Patricia, many off-brand products are actually packaged by contract packagers under an off-brand name. Hence, they are very, they're kind of the same companies that make the brand name stuff make kind of the generic stuff. And a lot of those supermarkets, they see, oh, this particular product is going really good. Let's make our generic product to compete with these. So yeah, you can definitely save some money out there. Let's see here. They're trying to push people into their digital currency. Yeah. You watched the same video I did. This should not be. Yeah, that I think it was what, CBS. Yes, they did a little mini series on cost of living in America, and they talked to another veteran that's having a hard time, buying a home. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there struggling, and again, they're the richest country in the world. I mean, why are so many people struggling? Elderly that are receiving retirement benefits, young people. It's going to get even worse with artificial intelligence taking jobs across the board. And we are so rich as a country, and so many people are struggling. It just doesn't make any logical sense. If you can come up with any logical sense why that's the fact, then please type it in there. Sad that one job no longer is sufficient to retire from. I feel so bad for these people. Donate to Meals on Wheels if you can, since government support is going away if it hasn't already. Yeah, a lot of these, again, it's they say, hey, fraud, waste, and abuse. There's fraud, waste, and abuse, and Meals for Wheels. So they decide to go ahead and get rid of it, or we can't afford it. We've got this massive deficit, and then they, give billions of dollars. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. If you can make it sense, then yeah. I have been struggling living on my savings while I wait the 6 months before my disability kicks in. Yeah, so Nelson applied for disability benefits, and there is a 5-month waiting period. There is a bill in Congress to eliminate that 5 years, but I don't think it's going to get any traction, unfortunately. But yeah, if y'all want to reach out to your politicians and say, hey, let's make that happen. People on disability really can't wait that 5 months. Patricia, I grew up with parents who believed in almost acre big garden. Common sense says an off-brand is just as good as a big name one. Yeah, I've never had any issues. Okay, let's see. I think we all relate to the current problems facing this country, affording food or basic necessities. Yes, and if it's not you, then I'm sure it's someone in your family, someone close to you. So let's make sure we reach out to people and make sure they're receiving everything they possibly can. Again, you check out my website. It goes into Medicaid, goes into the Medicare savings program, food stamps, everything. And I'm also going to be starting another section that I'm working on here, kind of community resources. So we're going to put together a way to help y'all help each other. I'm my own video, but too embarrassed to elaborate. Nobody wants to hear it. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you were talking about the videos. Thank you for that. Let me go ahead and show the 2 videos. But yeah, if you want to make a video, I had someone make a video asking a question yesterday, and you could barely see their face. The room was dark, but I answered the question. So if you're really, really, really shy, then go ahead and ask your question anyway, if you want to go and make a video. All right, let's watch a couple of those videos right now and answer their questions.
Hello, Kay here. Kay. And I wanted to ask a couple questions. First of all, I want to thank you for the time that you spend in giving us all the wealth of information that you have. I have one question about my retirement. I'm now 61. I'm going on on to my retirement here in a couple months. And I wanted to know what's the benefits. How can I calculate if it's better for me to continue on working or to come off retirement? I'm actually tired. I really am. But I'm thankful to God that I have good health. Don't have health issues. Thank God. But how do I find out more information about it? Seeing that Social Security, a lot of people aren't even in a Social Security office, so I can't even talk to a live person. Um, and so the last thing is I believe they owe me for my widowship benefits. So two questions roll into one. The widowship benefits, I'm 61 and my husband and we were married for over 10 years. And he's gone home to be with the Lord, and I wanted to know, how do I get his monies as well? When I went down there to Social Security, they said that I didn't qualify. I don't quite understand that. because, yeah, I did take care of him, and he did work when he worked for a little, mostly, but then when he took sick, he had to come off, stop working, and he was in a wheelchair. So on Social Security. So please give me this message, the answer to these questions. I appreciate it. God
All right, thank you for your question. So let's start with the survivor benefits. Yeah, you went down. It depends when you went down there. If you went down there before 60 years old, then they probably say you're not qualified unless you're disabled. It's called disabled widows benefits between the age of 50 and 59. But if you weren't disabled, then you wouldn't be qualified for those. But starting at 60 years old, then you can file for survivor benefits. So you're not qualified. The only way I could think of that is that you had mentioned that he didn't work very much. He got sick, but if he paid into Social Security at least 10 years, then he would be insured for Social Security benefits, and therefore you would be entitled to spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits on his record. So I would definitely check again and check to make sure if that's the case. So you just call him up and say, hey, here's my husband's information. If you don't remember the Social Security number, no problem. Just tell them the person's his name, how old he is, his date of birth, where he was born, the city and state, and they can find his Social Security number. And they will look to see if he is insured, whether he paid the required amount of years into Social Security. And if he did, then you would be entitled to benefits on his record. They would be reduced. Now you're 61 years old. If you start the survivor benefits now at 61, they're reduced because you're starting before your full retirement age. But if you find out that they told you incorrectly, let's say you went down there 6 months ago or a year ago, and you were 60 at that time, you're entitled to survivor benefits starting at 60 years old. So if you went down there, if you go down there and they say, yes, you're eligible for benefits, and then what you should say is, okay, hey, wait a second. I called y'all like 6 months ago, a year ago, and you said I wasn't. What's going on? What's happening? Did you give me wrong information? And if they gave you wrong information, then they should give you some back pay, retroactive payments back to when you first walked in the office, what you first called. So check that out. Okay. So that's the surviving spouse benefits. And then what you can do if you do the surviving spouse benefits, if you get qualified for those, when you turn 62, don't necessarily touch your own. Check out the numbers, because you can get surviving spouse benefits, and then don't touch the benefits on your record, and let your benefits on your own record continue to increase. And they'll increase all the way until you turn 70 years old. So people, they get survivor benefits, and then when they're 64, 65, 67, they call up Social Security and they say, hey, how much is the benefits on my own record? And they say, well, it's $100 more or $200 more. And they say, but it's going to be even more next year. Yep, it's going to be more next year until you hit 70. And they say, okay, well, I'll come back when I'm 69 because I want the max amount, or 70, the max amount. So that is step one. If it turns out you're not entitled to survivor benefits because he wasn't insured, then the next option is retirement benefits. And so you can start your retirement benefits at the age of 62 years old. You have to be 62 the entire month to start those benefits. And then Social Security always pays a month, in arrears. So if you start your benefits in June, you'll get your first check in July. And you're talking about just getting tired of work. And yes, know exactly what you mean. So you're not locked in 100%. So if you go ahead and file for survivor benefits or retirement benefits on your own record, then you are able to work. Again, you just have to stay under the annual earnings limit for this year. That's $23,400. As long as you're under that, Social Security does not hold back the $1 for every $2 or anything like that you go over. So you're good. And then there's also the monthly earnings limit. Check out my website. It tells you the difference between the monthly. It's basically Social Security doesn't care what you made before you start your Social Security benefits. So if you start your Social Security benefits in July, if you made $1 billion before July, they don't care. It's just when you start your Social Security benefits, are you going to be under $1,950? If you're under that, then you're good. Okay. All right. So, and if you there's a slim chance that, you file for Social Security benefits and you say, well, actually work wasn't all that bad. You can change your mind again. And then within 12 months, you can withdraw your application. You have to pay all that money back. You can withdraw your application and continue on, and, work and do whatever you want. And then at a future date, then you can go ahead and file again if you want to. So, all right. So that's one question there. And then I've got another video question, but let me go ahead and answer some other live questions here. This is too depressing to watch tonight, Ed. I only get $1,000 a month. Yeah. Yeah. Bev is a regular viewer there, so I know she knows all of the other avenues, Medicaid, the Medicare Savings Program, all the rest of it. I know she's checked to see if she's entitled to any other benefits on a spouse, a divorced spouse, independently entitled divorced spouse benefit, or anything like that. Oh gosh, Sadie, I live in my car now. Oh my gosh, that's yeah. Make sure you go to every possible resource you can out there to see if there's anything else eligible for you. So I'm working on my community resource page right now. It's going to be a lot more involved, and I'm going to need y'all's help to keep it up to date and add anything on there. So we're going to be working over that over the next couple of weeks. Ron, did the laws change about the windfall provisions? Because I worked for the city and could not get all my Social Security, but now will I receive my full Social Security plus my retirement pension? Yes, the Social Security Fairness Act was signed by President Biden just before he left office. And so now you will get essentially a higher percentage than anybody else in your similar situation. So there's no longer a windfall elimination provision. That provision went out. The government pension offset went out. So if you are currently receiving Social Security benefits and your benefit amount was wept, as they call it, they should have already caught yours, because they've done a vast majority of those. They've sent out $14 billion in those Social Security Fairness Act statement recalculations. People have received $6,000, $15,000, $20,000, about a couple of million people. So they're pretty, I think, 80 to 90% done. So not sure why you fell through the cracks if you're currently receiving Social Security benefits. So I would reach out to your local office and say, hey, I was wept, and when will I be unwept? And remember, it goes retroactive back to January of 2024. So this is very heartbreaking. I feel sorry for this sweet old lady. Yeah, I'm 68 myself, retired at 64, and can make it. I'm thankful for that. Yeah, and so beauty rest. You are too awesome like that. Even though you're in a goodish situation, you have compassion for other people that aren't. Because remember, we could all be in that situation. We didn't choose what country we were born in, or what era we were born in, and whether we were born with a disability, or that one time we were driving to that intersection 20 years ago and that drunk driver didn't smash into us. And so if we would have been 3 minutes early or 3 minutes late, then our entire life would have changed. And so, yeah, you never know. You never know. So that's why we have to look out for each other. You know why the eggs are so high? The chickens in Washington aren't doing their job. Yes, that's probably a good statement. We are vegetarian, so that helps keep our food prices down. Oh, okay. Yeah, I tried that for about a day. I've tried it many times for about a day. Yeah, so I just can't. I need to try it again, but I don't think it's going to work. My food is very cheap and much healthier than 90% of what you guys eat. Okay, perfect, awesome. Bacon, good to see you. Let's see. Get some other questions here. The big ugly bill is cutting SNAP and Wheels. Medicare and Medicaid are getting cut also. Yes, Minister Denise Early. You are correct on all of those. Medicare, not directly through the big ugly bill, as you call it, but because of the Pay Go Act, that's what has to be cut. So basically what happens is when a budget runs a deficit, it kicks in the Pay-Go Act. And then the Office of Management of Budget, guy named Russell Vogt, who is a architect, an author of Project 2025, he's the guy that decides what gets cut. Yeah. And he can't touch the Social Security Administration because it's exempt in this particular situation. He can't touch the Veterans Administration because it's exempt for this. The next big target is Medicare. So unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of Medicare cuts. So this is what we're talking about, Medicare cut. So he is the guy that's going to decide whether what gets cut for Medicare, whether it's going to be less money going to doctors and hospitals, and therefore hospitals and doctors are going to say, hey, we just can't afford taking Medicare patients anymore, so we're going to cut back on Medicare patients. They're going to lose they're going to lose Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act. There's millions of people going to lose those programs, and it's really going to hurt hospitals. So I did a video on this a few days ago about hospitals being hurt, and because of that, private equity is going to be moving in and buying up those hospitals, and it usually doesn't work out very good for the community. So another question here. My husband passed at 74. Can I draw his Social Security instead of mine? He drew more, but I do get 200 off. Okay, so I would definitely check out the numbers. If it sounds like you're past your full retirement age, probably, possibly. So if his benefit amount was more, then you should be able to get those benefits. The survivor benefits is a weird calculation, whether your spouse, the deceased spouse, took their benefits early, or whether they took it, at full retirement age or after, or were on the disability. So that works into the calculations on survivor benefits. So the easiest way to just figure it out is to call Social Security. I know there's hours and hours of wait because Doge, essentially exited a lot of people from the agency. So it's hard to get customer service nowadays. But just call up and say, hey, here's my Social Security number. Here's my husband's Social Security number. Are there any extra benefits for me? And if there's any extra benefits, then they will schedule an appointment to take that surviving spouse claim. So. Let's see here. Veteran protesters were very respectful, educational, and peaceful today. Good. Yes. We don't want any violence out there, but we definitely, those people that want to have their voices heard should definitely be allowed to have their voices heard, right? Penelope, Home Wheels is being defunded where I live. Not only did it provide a meal, sometimes it was the only contact with another person these people had. Yes, Penelope, I agree. A lot of people get isolated, and that causes other issues. Human beings are social beings, social animals, and we need interaction. So not only food, but interaction. And if those things go away, it's not going to be good for a lot of people out there. So reach out to your politicians and tell them, hey, stop. That big, horrible saying that they're trying to cram through Congress is going to eliminate a lot of services for disabled and elderly. That is a fact. Joseph, I wasn't listening to your YouTube channel for the past few days because someone on your YouTube channel came after me for my bad grammar. The grammar Nazis, as they say, right? Yeah, dangling participle. We will not have that. Split infinitives, yeah. To infinity, and no, it's the Star Trek one, right? That's a split infinitive. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, people just want to harass people. I, mispronounce stuff all the time, and get tongue tied, and people come in there and harass you. It's what they do. They got nothing else to do. So, a friend was married over 10 years. His ex has her 40 quarters in Social Security, but my friend does not. Can he still collect on ex's record? Yes. It doesn't matter if you're insured on your own record. So, a lot of people that, don't work, stay home, raise a family and everything like that, actually, if they outsource that to the regular economy, they, some studies say if you're staying home and raising a family, if you bought those services on the open market, you'd be like $100,000 a year, right? So anyway, but no, you do not have to be insured on your own record. What happens is, so if you're married to the person 10 years or longer, then you file for Social Security, and then the Social Security employee will look at that person's record and said, okay, you're not insured on your own record, so we don't have to take a claim for retirement benefits on your own record. No problem. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and take a spouse claim, and that's it. So no problem whatsoever. And same type of thing for Medicare. So you get benefits from the spouse, the monthly benefits, and Medicare as well. So Mama, I appreciate everything you do to help. You're welcome. And we appreciate everything you do to subscribe and like and share and all that kind of good stuff, because that's how we get the information out there. And if you see someone struggling, if you say, oh, wait a second, have you applied for Medicaid? Have you applied for the Medicare Savings Program? Are you getting one of those grocery cards? All the stuff you learn. Let's make sure we go out there and share it. All right. I've got another video question here. Let's listen and see what we can do.
Hello, Dr. Ed. This is Jim from Florida. I had a question regarding my wife's Social Security. She began taking Social Security early at age 62, and most of the time that was below the threshold for that exchange with 2-for-1. I took mine at the full retirement age of 65. So I was wondering if there's any chance that she could also, instead of taking her retirement, I think half of mine, which would give her, a little difference, not a whole lot. But in either case, that's my question. And this is Jim from Florida. And thanks again for all you're doing.
All right, Jim from Florida, thank you very much. So question about his wife started benefits early, was working but staying under the annual earnings limit, so it doesn't sound like anything was withheld there, so that's good. But the numbers, people often miss this. What Social Security does to determine whether a spouse can receive benefits from the other spouse is look at the benefit amount. But what people make a mistake on is they look at their checks. So Jim and, let's say, Betty are sitting there and says, okay, I understand. I heard Ed said, or I heard on the online, or Social Security said, one check has to be less than half of the other. And so people say, okay, mine's 1,000. Is yours over 2,000? Oh, it's not over 2,000. So I guess we can't get anything. That's not the number you have to look at. That's the check amount is your MBA, your monthly benefit amount. And so it might be reduced because of, filing early, or reduced because of Medicare premiums, or whatever the case may be. So, but Social Security doesn't look at that number. They look at the PIA, the primary insurance amount. That's the amount you would receive, you or your wife would have received at full retirement age. So you're like, how do I find that? Well, number one is you can go online, go to, set up ssa.gov, set up a My Social Security account, and you can find your PIA, your primary insurance amount, or just call Social Security when both of you are there, get on the phone and say, hey, here's my Social Security number. How much is my PIA? And your wife says, how much is my PIA? And they will do a 2-second calculation and determine if one is less than half of the other. And if it is, she can't withdraw her application now. It sounds like it's way, way, way too late. She will just continue to get her benefits on her own record, plus the difference up to 50%, but not the difference of her benefit amount, the difference of the full benefit amount, the PIA, the primary insurance amount. So it's, again, complicated, but you just need to call up and see. Again, the Social Security employee will take 2 seconds to see if there's any benefits available. And if there are, then she just goes ahead and files for those benefits. So I love fried bologna. You always have to cut a little cut around the side so it doesn't all shrivel up, right? Yeah. So only poor people know what I'm talking about. Congress need to be forced to pay back the money they keep taking out of Social Security with interest. Okay, yeah, that's a internet myth that politicians use to distract us. So that's number one myth on there. No, they didn't borrow money. It's just like watch the It's a Wonderful Life. You put money into the bank, and the bank doesn't just sit there on the wad of cash like Scrooge McDuck. They give it out to other people. So just like the Treasury, same types of situation. Social Security puts money into Treasury bills, the $2.6 trillion, and the government, yes, does use it for other things, but that's still our money. We go there every single month and take that money out. And if you're receiving Social Security benefits, then about this year, probably about 6, 7, 8% of your Social Security check, it's being paid back with interest. So Sue, you are getting the trust fund is being paid back with interest. You're getting it. And people say, no, it's all fake money and all that. It says, well, as I always say, take 8% of your check and go down there and give it to a homeless shelter, an animal shelter, or something like that. Because if you think that's fake money, I'm sure they will not. So, Jane Wells, fried bologna. As we age, we should not be eating food like that. Yes, it's more important than ever to eat good, fresh vegetables and very lean meat and fish. Yeah, I wish I could afford that when I was young. So anyway, and I'm sure a lot of people out there, same situation. For protein. Okay, we're doing a little diet thing here today, it seems like. At the Kennedy Center recently, Trump told press everybody is wealthy. Yeah, we should definitely be a lot wealthier than we are, considering how rich our country is. Are they trying to make us nuts? March, my son passed away. Oh, so sorry. And with all of this, I'm not trying to live and I'm not trying to die, just existing. Yeah. But Mama, you have a purpose in life to go out there and help, inform people and be active and call your politicians. That's why, politicians are, always, prioritize the elderly. They don't, but they listen to the elderly more than they would someone that's young, because the elderly actually go vote and get involved because they have that extra time to do that type of stuff. So politicians obviously they cater to the people that pay their bills, the rich and, billionaires and all the rest of it, more than they do the elderly. But I'm off grid, build my own power station, had a well-drilled septic tank put in, and I have enough power to run everything, so no need for propane in the winter, and split phase air conditioning is cold as ice. Wow. You are definitely mountain man, something. Minnesota legislator and husband killed. Second legislator, his wife shot, but likely survive. Yeah, that's a terrible situation. I'm on my second husband's survivor benefits. Can I get on my first husband's Social Security? It's more. I married him 2 years after my divorce. Okay, so you married him 2 years after my first divorce. Okay, so your first husband, if the benefits are more, but you still have to fulfill the requirements, and that is you had to be married to the person for 10 years if it's a divorce type situation. If you were married to the person when they passed away, you just had to be married to the person for at least 9 months. So if that is the case, if you were married to the person when they passed and you were married at least 9 months, or you were married to that person for 10 months, then you can definitely switch from one survivor benefits to another survivor benefits. A lot of people miss that. They think that, oh yeah, I was married to someone in my 20s and 30s, but then I got remarried and I'm on that person's record now. But because I got remarried, I guess I can't get benefits on the first. That is incorrect. If the remarried part is if you're remarried and you're currently remarried and you're still married, then you can't get those benefits. But it's in your case, your second husband also passed away. The only time you can get remarried is if you're after 60. So if you're in survivor benefits and you get remarried after 60, then you're still good. So you can keep those going. So RB, Republicans and Democrats are great at one thing, keeping out all other parties. Not really a party. Parties are supposed to be fun. Yes, as a fact. I think, was it Elon Musk did a little poll and said, do we need a third party? And 80% said yes. And him being such a narcissist, he thought, 80% of people want me to start a party. No, we just said 80%. We don't want you in charge necessarily. And some people do maybe, but yeah, considering all of the nightmares he caused and all the incorrect information he was giving out, that a lot of people are tired of the parties. Not because they're not the good ones. What are your thoughts concerning the Wall Street Journal article, Senators Seek Answers on Inflation Stats? Bureau of Labor Statistics can no longer accurately track inflation due to personnel cutbacks and hiring freezes. Yeah, that's across the board. I haven't read that particular article, but across the board, Social Security is having a hard time, getting people the money that they earned and need. The weather service got the hurricane season upon us, and we don't have people there. Air traffic controllers, but that's been an issue for a long, long time. I guess if they can't track inflation, then they'll just say, well, 0%. So 0% inflation. So see how much an awesome job I've been doing? We've got 0% inflation. So that means if you got 0% inflation, then you're also not going to get a COLA increase, because COLA is based on those calculations. Joey, if enrolled in Medicare supplement at age 65, do you have to renew yearly? Just making sure if any pre-existing still gets covered. If you have a Medicare supplement plan, like a Plan N or a G or F or anything like that, no, you do not have to renew every year. You're good. That's one of the benefits of a Medicare supplement plan is, people are on those for decades. As long as you pay your monthly premium, you're good. It doesn't change. It's always the same. The price obviously changes quite often. And that's one thing you can do if you want to. You can, if you have a Medicare supplement, 365 days a year, you can switch from one Medicare supplement to another one to see if you can save some money. You might have to go through medical underwriting, which is just answering a few questions. If you want to, you reach out to Chapter and they can see if they can save you some money there. And they'll just, ask you a few questions, figure out which company might be best for you, save you some money. But if they can't save any money, then you're good where you are. So if you have a Medicare supplement, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. One thing you do, because you also have a standalone Medicare Part D, a prescription drug program. That one, you don't have to renew it, but you definitely have to check it every year to make sure it covers all your drugs and it's the right price and all the rest of it. Same thing with Medicare Advantage. You need to make sure, you're in the best Medicare plan every year. Vicky, I was a nurse for many years, and there is a difference from generic to brand name prescription drugs. Yeah, now they have those biosimilar ones. A lot of prescription drug plans are no longer covering, the brand name stuff, and they're not going to generic. They're going to these biosimilar ones. So, money is going to the wrong places. Yes, and that's politics. That's what I deal with here. I harass both political persuasions, Democrats and Republicans and all the rest of it. But in terms of politics, I don't shy away from politics. I argue that our resources, our time and our money needs to go to the people that actually need it, who earned it, who are maybe not earned it, but need it. Why do I not get 100% of my husband's Social Security since he passed with me being on disability? If you don't get 100% of your husband's Social Security, then possibly because you filed for those surviving spouse benefits before your full retirement age. If you wait till your full retirement age to receive those surviving spouse benefits, then you would have gotten 100% of his benefit amount. So probably you just filed early. But Stacy, you're one of a very few, unfortunately, that did the right thing. There's a lot, because you're receiving disability benefits and you were smart enough to realize that even if you're receiving disability benefits, you can also get other benefits, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, and all the rest, divorce spouse benefits. So that's good that you realize that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there on disability that don't know they can get those other benefits. One offsets the other, but it just might increase your benefit. And people are scared to go out there and get it because they think, it's going to stop their disability. So Ed totally missed the point. Oh, did I miss a point on something? Did I skip someone's question? So if you want to, if you want to bring that up again, I'll see if I can get the point this time. Unless it's a joke, then I'll probably never get it. I have not used credit in 25 years as a scam. Don't use credit. Yeah. So you're lucky. You're lucky. Y'all, I'm honestly praying for everybody in here. Thank you, Mama. All right. You're too awesome. Let's see here. If you belong to a religious institution, check your pastor, priest, rabbis, or whoever. Yes, absolutely. Any other type of resources out there? See if you can get help. That's one of the that story. In that story, she says that's her, I guess, her Bible study group. I think she said it helps, her get through things. And I wish people in the Bible study group would also kind of help her, because it's nice to have a little, kind of a moral and motivation, and be there for someone, but to help a little bit financially doesn't hurt either. I finally got approved for SSDI last month. I applied in 2018. How long does it take for back pay? Okay, so if you applied 2018, wow. Yeah, so you probably applied and were denied, and then you didn't do the appeal, because that would mean you've been waiting 7 years for appeal, and there was no case that is 7 years old. So I know that for a fact. But you applied and then you didn't go through the appeal, or you went through the appeal and everything like that, and then you reapplied. So it became a new claim. So I don't think they're going to take your back pay to 2018, unless maybe, I guess you theoretically you could have gone to the Supreme Courts, but anyway, I don't think that's the case. But because you've been waiting so long, I am figuring this is an administrative law judge decision, and those take a little bit longer because the judge has to write up the order. So they have a writer that writes it up, and then they give it back to the judge, and the judge reviews it and signs off on it. And then they send it to the regional center or the local office, and DOJ closed down a lot of the regional centers. So there's no place to send those anymore. What I would do is reach out to your politician, your federal senator, congressperson, and say, hey, I've been waiting for this for a long time. What can you do to expedite this? I need my money. So, Lisa, how can a person find out if they are receiving benefits based on their own record or based on a deceased spouse? Yeah, if you're not sure, just call Social Security and say, what benefits are you receiving? Sometimes if you get the letters, this is another thing that Elon Musk was completely oblivious to. He said, well, there's no coding on these things. How do we know, there's no coding? Well, there's codings on everything at Social Security. If you ever got one of those Social Security letters, and it has the Social Security number, and at the end of the Social Security number, it'd have like an A or a C1 or a B or a W. If it's your Social Security, if you're getting your Social Security benefits, it'll have your Social Security number and it'll say A. That means you're getting benefits on your own record. If it has your deceased husband's Social Security number and then a W or something at the end, that means you're getting benefits from that person's record. But if they changed everything around the last few years because they stopped putting Social Security numbers in a lot of the newer letters. But you can also just call Social Security and say, hey, am I receiving survivor benefits? Am I receiving benefits on my own record? If I'm receiving benefits on X record, is there more money on Y record? I would definitely check that out immediately, if not sooner, because every month you wait, you're losing another month of benefits. So, If would you know if there will no taxes on paychecks, pension checks? Yeah, I don't do taxes. I know there's a lot of talk about no longer tax. Well, they pretty much stopped talk on eliminating tax on Social Security benefits. So that kind of went out with the election season. They said they're going to do a 4,000 deduction. So if you're making $100,000, you get a $4,000 deduction, and if you're paying 10%, then I guess you make $480. So, but if you're, yeah, it really depends on your tax bracket. Dee Dee, please, how can you collect your benefits and get Medicare, Medicaid if you're living in your vehicle? I'll have no permanent address. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But you don't have to have a permanent address if you. There was a lot of people in my office, that in my district that were homeless, unfortunately. And what you do is you go to the local post office, and you can set up a central kind of a general post box. And your local, sometimes the post offices don't do that general delivery. They'll say, hey, we don't do general delivery. It's called general delivery. They won't do it in particular post office. Maybe that's one's closer you do, but they'll tell you, oh yeah, for general delivery, you have to go to this post office. Usually it's like a central post office or something. And then when you file for benefits, you Medicare, Medicaid, or anything like that, you just give them that and say, here's the address. It's general delivery, this post office, this address. And then what happens is you go to that particular post office, once a week or every few weeks or whatever the case may be. And then you get your mail. So, yeah. Dr. Ed, add your local area office on aging to your resource list. They have several resources for seniors. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to include a lot of information locally and nationally and all the rest of it. So, all right, we are over an hour, and as always, I've got a lot more questions than we have time, but I will be back again tomorrow, and we'll go over all the rest. And remember, how you can get your question 100% guaranteed to be answered is go onto my website, mygovexpert.com, click on the little button on the bottom left there that says question or comment, and then make yourself a little video, and then I will answer your question in pretty much length. All right. Y'all take care. Have a beautiful night. And y'all definitely, please, please, please take care of each other. Bye-bye.